Donald Trump is furious about the government shutdown, but of course he's not furious that 42 million Americans are starving or that flights are being grounded across the country. Donald Trump is furious that Republicans haven't immediately bent to his will, haven't immediately blown up the filibuster, bypassed negotiations with Democrats, and of course started implementing what Donald Trump wants to call voter reform, but we know is just a way to help rig the midterms. That is why Trump is furious, and it's why, after he was caught at a secret party last night, he had a meltdown this morning, early this morning on Truth Social, that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Trump declaring war on the Republican Party, I want to start with Gavin Newsom, who called out the real reason Trump should be upset over the shutdown, and that's the fact that people are starving.
States, but think about the state of mind of the vice president. How do they honestly, how do you square the circle when you go to a prayer breakfast? How do you square the circle? I mean, Old Testament, New Testament. Well, what's the fundamental thing that connects from John to Matthew to Proverbs? It's this notion of hunger, feeding the poor, the sick, the tired. It's not an option, it's central to advancing God's will. I mean, the fundamental point that we'd be using, because this is what it's about, and the federal government said it in the lawsuit, that they want to use it as a bargaining chip to end this shutdown. That's shameful. It's never happened in U.S. history. And I appreciate the governors, the 23 AGs that stepped up and sued, and we've won those lawsuits. Now we need to win the heart and mind of the President of the United States, not just the Vice President of the United States, to do the right damn thing.
So not just an incredibly important message to be talking about right now, but also a little maybe 2028 preview there between Gavin Newsom and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is such a phony. He's such a fake. He's just such a loser. These people don't actually care. This America First movement that they claim to be a part of, that they claim to lead, it's just not true. Why do we only ask about where our tax dollars are going? Why do conservatives only ask about where their tax dollars are going when it has to do with people being fed or people getting basic health care? Then it's a problem. Do you know how much money is wasted on Donald Trump's golf trips? And it's not just that we are paying for Donald Trump's golf trips. As I always say, we're also paying Donald Trump to golf because they're always at his clubs. But Republicans never have a problem with that. It's only when a black kid is allowed to get a cookie. Then they freak out. Then they demand it must stop. Then it's a fucking crime to them. That's when they really lose it. But not when their president, who got caught last night, is continuing to do his, Marie Antoinette-style parties. Trump throws decadent opera and truffles rager at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for a lavish party at Mar-a-Lago on Friday. He partied over filet, scallops, and dessert trio with a Fox News star, a foreign politician, and a country singer at the same time as his administration was asking the Supreme Court to stop it from being forced to pay food stamps to millions. Footage from the event showed guests in tuxedos and gowns strutting down a Hollywood-style red carpet leading to Trump's Palm Beach estate. Unabashed by that comparison, however, the president, 79, posed for photos with several guests. Video that was posted Friday night also shows him seated at a banquet table next to one of the occasional golf buddies, Fox News anchor Bret Baier. Baier is described as being from the straight news side of Fox, whatever that means, and had an exclusive interview with the president on Wednesday. During the interview, he challenged Trump about the cost of living, reading out loud a message from a lifelong Republican who voted for Trump 3 times but is not happy about cost. "I don't see the best economy ever right now. Wall Street numbers do not reflect my Main Street money. Please do something, President Trump." Baier asked Trump his response, prompting Trump to say, "Beef, we have to get down. I think of groceries, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef, we have to get down, but we've got prices way down, and think of this, energy. She drives a car, probably, and her energy prices are way down, and energy is so all-encompassing. It's so big that when energy goes down, everything follows it, and I have energy down to 5 or 6 year lows." So first of all, it's not true. Energy isn't down. The electric costs across the country are skyrocketing. But it's also funny for Trump to say, yes, things are expensive, even though he didn't really admit that, at the same time as he's saying, when you get electricity down, that's his economic theory, everything else will come down. But everything else hasn't come down. So even if you did have the cost of energy down, Why does it matter? Because it hasn't affected anything. There is no clear economic theory that Donald Trump is presenting. Donald Trump doesn't care about the cost of living. Donald Trump doesn't care about making your life easier. Donald Trump just doesn't care. He's throwing parties at Mar-a-Lago. His rich and famous friends are with him. That is all that matters. He's not worried about you. But he is worried that Republicans aren't worried about him enough. And that's why he posted this meltdown. Trump wrote on Truth Social, so let's get this straight. The President of the United States is allowed and fully approved by Congress to stop all trade with a foreign country, which is far more onerous than a tariff and license a foreign country, but is not allowed to put a simple tariff on a foreign country, even for purposes of national security. That is not what our great founders had in mind. Trump also wrote, Republicans should terminate the filibuster. The Dems will do it the first chance they get. End the shutdown, pass lots of great things, and win the midterms. So easy to do. Be the smart party, not the stupid party. Trump wrote, without tariffs, we have none of the following. Just posted. Truth, President DJT. Trump also wrote, people that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation and a record stock market price. 401ks are higher than ever. We are even taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. So Donald Trump, who really has never been in panic mode, more so than now, furious with Republicans for not saving him from his own government shutdown, is now promising people $2,000 checks that he can't deliver on from tariff revenue that is illegal and about to go away, all at the same time as Republicans just refuse to help him. And I hope that that continues. And I hope Democrats continue to hold out as well. We should not be negotiating with these people. I do not trust them. We need to be focused on a healthcare crisis that they're creating that Bernie Sanders was talking about right here.
They know that we pay by far, not even close to the highest prices in the world for healthcare, while some 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. They know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right, something which must change. And what they also know is that Donald Trump and the Republicans, through their horrendous, big, beautiful bill, are making a broken, dysfunctional healthcare system even worse, taking it to the verge of collapse. That legislation is doubling premiums for over 20 million Americans who are in the Affordable Care Act exchange. And in my state, we are hearing from Vermonters who are being asked to pay a tripling of their rates and even a quadrupling of the rates. Who, in God's name, at a time when health care costs are already so high, can afford a doubling, a tripling, or quadrupling of their rates? That is insane. Nobody in my state, or I expect in this country, can afford to pay that. Further, that big, beautiful bill would throw 15 million people off the health care they now have as a result of massive cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. According to studies, that would result in some 50,000 Americans dying unnecessarily every year. Low-income, working-class people who have chronic illnesses who will no longer be able to get health care. That is what we are being discussed. Anybody think it's a good idea to allow 50,000 of our fellow Americans to die unnecessarily each year? And all of this is being done in order to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. No, Mr. President, I do not believe that Elon Musk and Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Bezos and the other multi-billionaires deserve $1 trillion in tax breaks in order to throw 15 million Americans off the health care they have and double premiums for over 20 million Americans. I don't believe that. The overwhelming majority of Republicans, Democrats, Independents don't believe that either. Mr. President, the American people understand that the Republican Party controls the White House, they control the Senate, they control the House of Representatives. And understandably, for that reason, poll after poll shows that Americans hold the Republicans accountable for this shutdown. But it's not just polls. On Tuesday, there was an election in which Trumpism was overwhelmingly rejected from Maine to California and a lot of states and cities in between. And one of the key reasons is that Americans want Democrats to make certain that they do not experience huge increases in their health care premiums or get thrown off the health care they have. That is what they are saying. We cannot afford a doubling or tripling in our health care costs. Stand with us. That's what that election was significantly about. President Trump claims to be a deal maker. In fact, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Well, Mr. President, the ball is in your court right now. Help negotiate a deal. Show us what a great deal maker you are. Help us negotiate a deal which protects the health care of tens of millions of Americans, and let us end this shutdown today. We can end it in the next few hours. So, Mr. President, that is what this struggle is about. That's what this shutdown is all about. It's whether Republicans succeed in making a broken and dysfunctional health care system even worse by making health care unaffordable for working class and middle class Americans. It's about whether millions of our fellow Americans no longer have health insurance and that many of them will die unnecessarily. So, Mr. President, we are hearing right now, every one of our offices are hearing tragic stories of families having to decide whether they can pay for their parents' cancer treatment, for example, or whether they will see a parent die without that life-saving care. There are millions of Americans now dealing with chronic disease. They're dealing with cancer, they're dealing with diabetes, they're dealing with Alzheimer's, they're dealing with health, with heart disease. And they are wondering, if they get thrown off the health care, premiums go so high, how are they going to stay alive? How are they going to take care of their parents, their kids? That is what this shutdown is about. And whether it is in Maine, New Hampshire, Nevada, or Vermont, the American people want us to stand with them. And that is what this whole debate is about.
We do not have health care in this country. We have sick care, and that sick care system is very broken. And I think that we need to give more attention to that every single day. We're going to be on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video if you stuck around to the end. Drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.